had a couple people message me the other day after they saw my last video and like, hey, what was that poster back there on the door? It's new. I haven't noticed that. That is Night of the Creeps. And that's actually, I think, a German poster. Now, I don't know if that poster got an American release with that artwork or not, but I wanted that poster for a long time, and I checked my website I use, moviepostershop.com, and they had it. And it had me wanting to revisit this movie, Night of the Creeps. And I wanted to talk about Night of the Creeps for just a minute because, you know, this is a very interesting movie. Now, my story with Night of the Creeps is this. I was watching some kind of Halloween documentary back in the day, and I believe my wife was with me at the time, and Tom Atkins makes notion of, you know, I played another... He was referencing Halloween 3 not making any money back in its day, and then he said, I've done a number of films like that, and he brought up Night of the Creeps, but he was like, that was my favorite role I ever played as Detective Ray Cameron. So we sought out Night of the Creeps. I remember we bought some kind of initial Blu-ray release for it, and I ended up giving that to a friend. And then I remember I bought this bootleg DVD of Night of the Creeps that has the original and television versions of the film, which is slightly different editing for the television version. And the television version on this actually has like the Sci-Fi logo on the bottom, so somebody ripped it from Sci-Fi on back in the day. What I was thinking initially was this movie had to have been a hit. What was Tom talking about? Maybe he was confused. No, Tom wasn't wrong. The movie just kind of didn't do much back in the day. And that's literally, you know, here's the thing. There are a lot of movies I love that I know aren't great films. I think we all have films like that. But Night of the Creeps is a legitimate good movie that I'm shocked is not as popular as some of the movies that we talk about, like The Thing, for instance, or you know, some of the Friday the 13th, or Night of the Demons, like stuff like that. Like, how is Night of the Creeps not a cult phenomenon? Why is Night of the Creeps not in, like, T-shirts of that movie, not in Hot Topic? Or, you know, why are we not seeing Night of the Creeps merchandise, T-shirts more often? This movie is a bona fide good movie, and it really floors me that it's really not more of a phenomenon. Now, granted, it's got a great audience today, but still, I mean, when you go back and watch Night of the Creeps, it's just like, good God, that movie is good. So, Night of the Creeps is part sci-fi. It's a horror movie. It's kind of an action movie. To me, it's a mix between a Lethal Weapon-style action film with back-to-school comedy, and especially the scenery with the fraternities and sororities, and great 80s horror. And you blend that all together, and you get Night of the Creeps. So Night of the Creeps starts out, you've got these aliens, and one of them escapes off of the ship, and this great little scene that Fred Dekker sets up. And then you go to this nice 50s montage, like kind of movie style, black and white, and I love that. Very charming. And you get to see what's going on, what happens with these aliens, what they're doing. And it's a great setup for the film, and then you transition right into the mid-80s with the song Let Go. Dun, 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 dun. And that song... The first time I heard that song was in a movie called My Demon Lover, which was a movie about like a guy who kind of turns into a monster at night or something. It's like a romantic comedy, touch of horror kind of film. But then it's in this movie too, and obviously this is the movie that everybody would know that song from more so than not, because I don't know how many people have seen My Demon Lover. I like that movie, but it's, you know. And we go right into the 80s. Now, what's brilliant about Night of the Creeps, I think, is how Fred Dekker takes his time to really make you care and get to know each character. You don't see Tom Atkins till probably the 25-minute mark. You know, he takes the time to set everything up nicely and make it very interesting. So you get these two great best buddies, and Euro Rusty from European Vacation is in this movie. And he was so great. He's one of those guys. He's kind of nerdy, but he's kind of cool, and he's just trying to figure himself out, which is, I think, what a lot of us probably feel on the inside. Like, I want to be cool, but I'm a nerd. Like, I get that, but I want to be cool at the same time. And he's got the best friend. What I love about the best friend is Fred Dekker decided to make the best friend, like, a really cool person, and he was partially handicapped. He had a little bit of, like, loss of... The character, I think, had a little bit of, like, muscle loss in his legs, so he couldn't stand on his legs properly. He had to use kind of, like, these walkers to help him. And something about that, I could be reading into it a little more so than I probably should, but something about doing that, to me, it's just like Fred Dekker's trying to say, you know, people should never be defined by their handicaps, and having that character in this movie, it's like he's this great, hilarious, funny, probably my second favorite character in the movie, the best friend, quite frankly. Even though he's somewhat handicapped, he is got the greatest personality. He's absolutely hysterical. He's got some of the best lines in the movie, and I just love the fact that Fred Decker did that, because it's kind of like a thing for, I think, the audience to kind of say to ourselves, handicaps are just that. They're handicaps physically, but that doesn't have anything to do with what the person is or how they are. So I was a big fan of that. I was really glad that he made the best friend kind of that way. And you fall in love with those two. I mean, their back and forths are just so funny. Their banter with each other is so funny. And finally, we get to see Detective Ray Cameron. Now, we learn about his story that was tied in from the beginning with the 50s segment with what happened with these aliens. And the lines in this movie are hysterical. My favorite line isn't necessarily one of his one-liners. Obviously, Thrill Me is a phenomenon. You hear Thrill Me all the time. You hear Bullwinkle Moose or Bozo the Clown. But my favorite line, it's really in the middle of his spiel with the desk sergeant, when you see our two guys trying to become part of this fraternity, and they go to sneak the dead body out of the cryogenics lab when things go awry, and Tom Atkins shows up there when the police call him, and he's trying to find out what's going on, and nobody can give him a straight answer, and he finally hears one of the desk sergeants say, well, something happened, and they went to the bathroom, and Tom Atkins goes, candy ass, but fine. That line gets me. I don't know what it is. Candy ass. I don't know. I love it. So that's actually my favorite line of the movie. And the movie, once we get to that point, it's just all bets are off. The movie is so energetic. It's so funny. It's got good special effects in it. The characters are just money, all of them. You got the Bradster, who's the mean boyfriend that runs the fraternity, with the girlfriend who really, she doesn't want nothing to do with him, but she felt compelled to be with him. Like I said, a lot of similarities comedic-wise and kind of thematically with Back to School, which is my favorite Rodney Dangerfield movie. It's so funny. And then you've got a little bit of the action stuff with Detective Cameron. He's kind of like troubled mentally, and that's kind of what Riggs was like in Lethal Weapon. So like I feel elements from different movies in Night of the Creeps, but it's a perfect blend. So man, I love this movie so much. This is a movie that I don't think has anything wrong with it. I really don't. I think that Night of the Creeps is about as close to as great as a horror comedy as you can really have. You've got horror comedies that so often don't have that dial turned just right to get everything blended perfectly. There are a number of them. I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is one of them. Obviously, Return of the Living Dead I feel that way about because it's my favorite. And Night of the Creeps is in that category of those movies that perfectly dial it up. That blend different elements. And when it's done right, you've got hits. You've got cult hits that they reach to the fans. And I think that those three movies, including this one, are three that I think a lot of us would agree are just, they get it right. They do it right. And there are others. And then there are others that just don't dial it in properly, and that you could tell. But Night of the Creeps is about as close to a perfect horror comedy I think as you can possibly have. So entertaining. I love the slugs. I love the story. I love the characters. This is a classic. This is an 80s classic, a Fred Decker classic, a Tom Atkins classic, a horror classic. You name it. It's amazing. You can have so much rewatch value with it. Now, this Blu-ray is great if you don't happen to own the Night of the Creeps Blu-ray. I prefer the theatrical cut that comes with this rather than the director's cut. I just think the theatrical cut is timed precisely, and I like the ending of it better than the director's cut. The picture is great on it. The special features are absolutely great. You've got new interviews with Suzanne Snyder, Alan Kaiser, Ken Herron, New Horrors Hollow Ground, audio commentary with Fred Decker, with the cast, original theatrical ending, deleted scenes, featurettes, Birth of the Creeps, Cast of the Creeps, Creating the Creeps, Escape of the Creeps, Legends of the Creeps, and Tom Atkins' Man of Action. So, great. This is a great release. If you don't have this, definitely go ahead and get your hands on it. I just think you can't go wrong with Night of the Creeps. Love this movie. I just wanted to talk about this movie because when people were asking about the poster, I was like, well, I've got to rewatch Night of the Creeps. It's been too long. Now, that poster, I think, is one of three. There's that poster on the wall behind me. There's this poster, and then there was also this poster that's on the Blu-ray as well, where you see them two in front of the sorority with the flamethrowers. So the movie had an interesting poster life, which is cool. But between the three, I like the zombie hand going through the glass doorknob, which is why I got that. So 10 out of 10 in every category. Night of the Creeps. Amazing. Love it. Let me know what you guys think about this film. What's your story with Night of the Creeps? When was the first time you saw this movie? I'd love to know. I think everybody just gets a smile on their face when they talk and think about Night of the Creeps, because it makes you happy. You have to smile when watching Night of the Creeps, and sometimes we need a good smile, and I think Night of the Creeps can deliver it to each and every one of us. So, love you guys. Let me know your thoughts on this classic film, and we'll see you guys next time. Probably with some true romance. Haven't seen this movie before, and people were telling me I'm in for a treat, so it's probably next. So, until next time, love you guys. See you then.